Welcome to Lever Up Your Life. I'm Nate Barger. I went from prison time and bankruptcy to now owning over $200 million in real estate. I want to show you guys all the mistakes I made so you don't make the same mistakes. It's time you create massive wealth for yourself. Welcome to Lever Up Podcast, where I'm going to introduce you to one of my friends who's levered up his life and killed his W-2. He's an part owner of the Stream Group, and has a holding company that also educates normal people just like you guys, a lot of you guys. It's called the Firehouse Bros. So look him up. Out of Columbus, Ohio, Seth Teagle.
Hey, thank you for having me on
Hey,
today.
are you related to Bugsy Siegel? Or you just kind of sound the same? Okay,
just sound similar.
Okay, how you doing today, brother?
Doing good, man. Thank you for having me out here.
Man, thank you for coming all the way down from beautiful
yeah.
Columbus, Ohio.
Absolutely.
So, man, I'm going to jump in because I always like to go back to the beginning. What I want to try to accomplish in this Lever Up is to let people know that, look, we all have circumstances that we have to overcome. Nobody has this perfect life that they were born into. And so I don't know your story, but I know everybody has a story.
Absolutely.
So tell us about, where you were born at, how you were raised up.
Yeah, so I was born in Minot, North Dakota, about an hour south of Canada, which most people don't know where North Dakota is on the map, right? It's
all right, so guys, he had all the odds against him. No, I'm just kidding.
Right?
Go ahead, brother.
I grew up in the tundra, 60 below zero winters. So I grew up there. I moved to Florida out of high school.
What a big shot there, man.
A guy that I kind of grew up with, his family was in the Air Force, and they got transferred to Fort Walton Beach, Florida area. And
no, wait, you got transferred with his family?
No, his family got transferred. We stayed in contact. So when I was in high school, I went down and visited because I had never been to Florida.
What part?
Fort Walton Beach, Destin area. So like Eglin Air Force Base is where his family was
Beautiful
Yeah,
area.
I loved it. So I did that in high school with the plans after I was there. I mean, that was life-changing to go see the ocean for the first time.
Wow.
See the beach for the first time. I think I was 16 years old. So I knew out of high school I was going to move down there. So I moved down there. Wasn't sure what I wanted to do. Started doing a little bit of college, but I lived right down the street from a firehouse. And I watched the fire engines go by all the time. And I just kind of got curious about, like, what would that be like?
Did you see the now hiring sign on the back of the fire truck?
I did not. I did not see that. I should. But so I went down to the station, kind of talked to those guys, found out what I needed to do. They were allowed me to kind of do a ride along. So I rode along with them. We went on a couple different runs. And when we went on those runs, just what I saw was one was a car accident, one was a cardiac arrest. I was like, man, this is amazing. Like life-changing work that these guys were doing. And I'm like, this is it. So I jumped into the fire service right after that. I was 18.
So you went down when you were 16. Now, what kind of upbringing did you have, your family?
Well, I would say probably just regular blue collar. Like my mom went to did some college, but then raised us. So she was a stay-at-home mom. My dad was in the military, got out, had an insurance company for a while, was an entrepreneur, then got out of that. And then he basically did car sales. He's one of the number one car sales guys in North Dakota for years. But that was it. They worked hard. When they split up, I was in 5th grade when they got divorced. So then my mom had all 4 of us with no real college education and really didn't know what to do. And she was, we talk about it now where she went to radio ad sales, making $25,000 a year back in the 80s and trying to, struggling to get by with all 4 of us. So, it was definitely like the blue collar background, kind of put your head down, work harder. That was it. That was the mentality.
So how did that, as a kid, have you ever went back and, I had to go back in counseling and do all that to try to unravel but there's always side effects when your parents split up like that. Have you ever went back and dug into that?
I have not. I know some of my siblings have. They have reached out to people and kind of dealt with it, but I have not ever felt the need to.
And the only reason I'm saying that is because I want people to know that, your journey and everybody always, the people that aren't pushing themselves, the people that me and you are trying to reach and grab are the people that are saying, oh, well, he had it better than me. And that's the only reason he's doing good.
Yeah.
No, I'm trying to reach you guys, man, because that's not the truth.
Yeah. No, when I was 14, I was always a grinder. I was always a hustler. When I was 14, my dad took me the week before. In North Dakota, you had to be 14 in order to work. And he took me like the week before my 14th birthday, and I got a job bussing tables at a restaurant. and I've had I've always been doing something, and just kind of had that scrapper mentality, as my mom would like to say. So pushing myself.
So you started down there. You were what, 18?
Yep. When I moved down there, I was 18.
And when you started at the fire department, you took the test, you passed. They said, "Come on in here, big boy. We don't even need the jaws of life. We could just have you rip the cars open," right?
Yeah. It was a little bit of a struggle because in Florida, where I was at, you actually had to go to a fire academy. You had to go to EMT school, medic school, and you had to do all that before you could get a job. So I went through I went through fire school, went through EMT school, finally got on somewhere. Then I ended up having to go to medic school. But even that was a struggle because I had nobody helping me. I was working full time during the day and then going to school at night.
So you were, now at this point, you weren't living with your buddy. You were living on your own down there?
Yep. I was living on my own.
Yep. And
small little duplex.
So no family members around, just your buddy. He was still down there?
Well, so it's an interesting story. So he moved down there, was there for a couple of months, and realized that he missed his family who was in North Dakota. Again, so between the time I went down there and visited, and then when I actually moved there, his dad was about to get out of the Air Force, and he was from North Dakota originally. So they transferred back up there.
Wow.
So when we went back down, my friend was like, he missed his high school friends and whatnot. And so he went back, lived there for about 2 months. And he said, you know what, I'm kind of over it, right? It was his hometown, he grew up, or he kind of felt that way and missed his family. So he left me down there, went back to North Dakota, and I stayed.
What's his name?
Eric Stuberg, if you're listening.
Eric, you sold him out, man, but that's okay. Look at him now.
That's it.
So then how did you make your transition from there, woman? Why else would you come to Columbus, Ohio?
That's right. So I worked down there for about 8 years, met my wife. I lived and worked through several hurricanes. So Hurricane Ivan, Dennis, Katrina, some pretty big impactful ones of the Gulf Coast down there. I was on some strike teams and some USAR teams, doing body recovery, doing kind of helping after those hurricanes. And I just realized that I have no family down here. I have no siblings. This is just not what I want to be, where I want to live full time. I'd rather be vacationer, So I was like,
does Florida not, if you live down there, do you not appreciate it as much?
I think you do, but for me, I had to live 45 minutes from the beach
because of the price.
Pay. Right. I mean, the working in the municipality and in government in the Southeast, you're not making a ton of money.
Mm-hmm.
And so for you to be able to live, you have to live farther from the water. And I worked right on the water. And I loved it when I was in my 20s, but as I started getting older and thinking I was going to have kids and settle down, I'm like, well, where am I going to live? And I was going to have to live 45 minutes to an hour north of where I worked. And I was after I saw all the devastation from the hurricanes, I thought, man, there's got to be something. I'd rather go back up north and then just vacation down here and then get to enjoy everything. Because if you've ever been to Destin or Fort Walton or those areas, they cater to the vacation people. It's not made. It's not made for the locals. So anyways, my wife's, her father flew for NetJets. He did a career in the military. Then he started flying for NetJets back when it was a very small company, and they lived in Pickerington, which is a suburb of Columbus.
Yep. Pickerington.
And so we came up and visited a couple times. I loved it. They had Ohio State football. They had the Columbus Blue Jackets. I played hockey growing up. And
wow, you played hockey?
Yeah. My brother and I played.
Wow. You're huge, man. You're 6'7".
Yep.
And you're rolling down them roller skates, man. You must have tore some people up, didn't you?
My brother, he's 6'5", so we were on the same defensive line for quite a while when we were growing up, and it was
wow.
fun.
And now, did they have other big guys like you guys up there in North Dakota?
I don't think I never realized that I was that much bigger than everybody until I got older, But I've always been tall.
Yeah, until you met your partner, your business partner.
Right.
Hey, I'm just kidding in there, brother.
Yeah, he's in the other room. So.
Yeah.
But so that was it. We that was the agreeable move up north. Was we had to go somewhere that wasn't North Dakota because she didn't want to go live in the tundra. And
so you met her down there?
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, so you guys made this decision to move to Ohio together?
Yeah. Yeah. I wanted to move. I was ready to move up north, and she was like, "I'm only going." We looked at a couple different places, but Columbus was you had to be a firefighter paramedic, and I didn't want to step backwards in my career. So I was like, well, let's go. I'll agree to go to Ohio. So, I came up and saw it and I liked the area. So we moved up here. Now we vacation down there now regularly. And I love it.
So guys, you are looking at the only man in the world that's ever moved from Florida to Ohio. It usually happens the other way around.
Yeah, it usually does. That's for sure.
And then, so what made you want to get into real estate? How long did you come up here? Were you being a firefighter before you realized man, I can do something different.
So we moved in '08, the end of '08. I got on full time up here in 2009. And then we had our daughter in 2012. And it's probably 2014 ish when I realized that my paycheck was getting stretched. It didn't matter how much I worked. It was always never enough. With inflation and other things that were happening, like even though I was getting a 3% annual raise, inflation was still outpacing my.
Well, the government back then was saying it was 2%.
Yeah.
But you were looking in your checking account like, hold on, man, the math ain't mathing.
Yeah. So I kind of got put up against the wall where the year that I really kind of decided I had to do something else, I worked 1,000 hours of overtime. And at the end of the year, we sat down and it was 6 months that I had been at the fire station out of 12, like day and night gone. And I'm like, this is not sustainable.
1,000 hours of overtime?
Yeah. Cause we do 24-hour shifts.
Yeah. That's insane. Wow.
Yeah. So I knew I had to figure out something else. And I didn't really know what that was going to be. Well, during that time, it was kind of like when MySpace was ending and Facebook was still kind of taking off.
Mm-hmm.
I reconnected with a guy that when I was in college, it was a roommate, and he was this multimillionaire real estate investor, wholesaler, house flipper, had his own education program. And I was like,
well, where's he out of?
Pensacola, Florida.
Oh, wow.
So I was like, how did Matt go from the guy I knew to this multimillionaire? Like I went into the fire service and he went into real estate. He was going to be a realtor when I had last talked to him. So I reached out to him and he was like, hey man, great to catch up. He emailed me an MP3 program of like his 7-day house flipping course. And I remember driving around in my car, going into the email, listening to the MP3 overhead. And that was the first time I'd ever heard anybody that wasn't on like HGTV talk about house flipping. It was really like, I think before the BRRRR strategy was a strategy.
Yeah. It was just a cash out refi. Yeah.
Yeah. And then it was like systematizing the flips, using the same carpet, the same paint, the same vanities, all that stuff, and how you can scale. And that was how he created the wealth that he had at the time. And I was like, well, if he can do it, I can do it. Like, and so
because you were like, Matt, you're not much smarter than me.
That's exactly it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I reached back.
But see, that was you reflecting and realizing that you could do it. And so from the moment you realize in life, guys, that you can do something, you start these balls moving and these gears just start to crush everything and they start to multiply. You got the little small gears turning the big, huge gear up there. That never happens if you don't believe in yourself, though. That's the mindset.
Absolutely.
Man. That's the mindset.
Yep. Yeah. So I realized talking with him, he gave me 3 things to do. He said, read the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. So I did. And I was like a sponge. So as soon as he told me that, I think I called him back in like 2 or 3 days and I was like, hey, I'm done. That book, just changed my whole mindset. And I never knew before what an asset liability was. A lot of people have read that book.
Mm-hmm.
He told me then to find a local real estate meetup. So I started like Googling real estate meetups in my area. Like, where do I go? What does that look like? I was super nervous and scared to go to the very first one. I didn't really know what to do, but he was like pushing me to go do that. And then I did. And then he was like, you need to the third thing was find a local mentor because he was in Florida. The market he was in Florida was different than what I was at.
Yeah.
He's like, you got to find somebody local that you can provide some value to, or that they'll like do whatever you got to do to be able to like kind of get their attention. And at that time so I was like, okay, so now I'm on the hunt. I'm looking for somebody. I ran into a guy that was a contractor who was also a real estate investor, had a W-2 job, had left for investing. And I was like, look, I'll do whatever you need to learn from you and kind of get that on the job training. And through my background in the fire service and construction and doing fire code inspections, building inspections, I knew enough about construction that where I felt like I could manage his projects. And so that was kind of how I plugged in. Was I started managing his flips. And then he had a small rental portfolio where he's like, look, man, I need help managing this stuff. Like, it's eating up all my time. I got to go meet these tenants. I got to go sign these leases. Like, if you'll work with me, I'll kind of teach you the property management aspect of things. So I did that for a year. And after a year of
now, were you still working overtime?
No. So that was when I went to my wife and I was like, look, I still have my career. I was working my 24 on, 48 off, but that's what I had. That was my value to create for him was I've got time. He didn't have time, but he had the experience. I had no experience, but I had time. And so I was willing to trade my time to gain the experience so that I could at some point move forward on my own.
But you said something there that I want the viewers to realize, that all that he gave up for his family because they were getting less time with him and less money. So kudos to your wife, man.
Yeah,
you know, like
she's
that.
been
Like my wife
phenomenal.
was the same way. And man, it's just the more I go through this with people, the more I see it over. There's patterns. The patterns are, I didn't grow up rich, you know, but I believed I could do it. And then you had your support. Where was your support? What was your why?
Mm-hmm.
That's the ingredients. And then it was a lot of hard work.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yep. So yeah, a lot of stories that came out of that year of working with him. A lot of stuff that I did. I mean, spraying for bed bugs. I mean, all kinds of stuff I was doing, trying to do it because that's what he needed done. And I'm like, you know, but the value that I saw that I wasn't getting monetarily, I was getting an education. And why are you doing it this way? Why wouldn't you do it this, you know, this way? How do you do this? How do you do that? Like, and I just had that, I gained that open line of communication with him. He took my phone calls. We were together every day when I was at the firehouse, and I learned a tremendous amount. And
now you were working for free for him?
Yeah. I mean, I think he paid me a little bit here and there, but it was mainly like performance based. So if I could get a lease signed rather than pay a management company a whole month's lease, he'd kick me a couple $100.
Yep.
You know, or if the flip was profitable, he would cut me out a couple % of that at the end. But I mean, some of these flips that we got into, as I look back at it now, I'm like, man, I never would have bought that property because he barely broke even, which is why
never would have bought it. Or if you look back now, you say I never would have sold it.
Yes.
Yeah, because now it's worth double what he sold it for.
Yeah. Yep. So I learned a lot in that year. The big thing I learned was that if I wanted to maintain a career, which at that point in time in my life I still thought I would, I had to get bigger. I had to build in efficiencies to where I'd be big enough to where I could pay people to manage my properties or to do whatever, because it was a job.
Yeah, it was
miserable. I mean, I'd go from one job at the firehouse, and now instead of working overtime, I'm making less money. It's another job. I'm overseeing all these people, and I may or may not have any kind of monetary gain. And at the end of a year, I thought, and I learned again throughout that time, like multifamily, scaling, getting bigger, getting into bigger deals. And so I was just dead set on getting into like a big multifamily deal because I thought that was the way for me to be big enough to have a management company, to be able to do the renovations and the construction. Like I knew that. I didn't know how to manage a property at the time. I didn't know what that would take. So I thought, well, shoot, I'll buy something big enough to where I could pay somebody to manage it.
Wow, really?
But I can help.
So you thought
bigger? Yeah, the first deal I actually put my name on was a 50 unit.
Wow.
So I went from
how did you get debt on? How did you put all that together?
So we did.
You had that. How did your mentor help you get there? I mean, that's a huge jump. I'm going to go from 0 units to 50.
Yeah. That was bigger than anything that he had.
And what did he think? Did he think you were?
Well, he understood it, but he was even to this day, he's still flipping houses. And so he's, he just never could really move beyond, like the house flipping was his bread and butter, his comfort zone. He was good at it. It was a regular thing for him. He had talked about wanting to get into bigger things, but just never could really make the leap. And I knew that at the time, if I wanted to keep my career, I had to go bigger. And how I got the debt done was because I leveraged the experience I gained in that year. I had no rental property of my own to speak of. But
wow, you see that? He hacked the system.
Yeah, but
so the bank allowed that experience to act as and said that you could basically essentially buy the property.
Yeah, so I would say 2 contributing factors is, one, I didn't have the money to do it. So I went to another investor who I had met through the real estate meetup and I had gotten to know and had a relationship with. He had a bunch of properties he had never done a cash out refi on. So he did a cash out refi and he was in for 50% equity. I took my home equity line of credit. Again, I didn't have very much money in the bank. I took the money I had from the home equity line of credit and I said, okay, we'll go this 50-50. I'm going to manage all the construction, the renovation, the BRRRR process. And then we're going to have somebody else manage the tenants and the leasing. And all. So what
did he do?
He just put the capital in. So
he put all the capital?
What I had for my home equity line of credit, he took what he had and I took what I had and we put it together and that made up the.
So he put up most of the money.
Yeah.
Got it.
Big chunk. Yep.
So, guys, look at that. You'd rather own 50% of something than 100% of something smaller, right?
Absolutely.
And so all this time, all I can imagine is, so your wife was 100% support. You're going to do the HELOC. You're going to take all the equity out. You're going to take everything that we work for, and you're going to go put that in a property, and you've never even owned a property.
Yeah,
you want to buy a 50 unit?
She was scared.
Seth, are you insane?
She was scared to death. Yeah, that's for sure.
But did she still support you?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, she knew that. I mean, I think she could see that I was passionate about it. I think, I bet on myself, and she had been around me long enough to know that if I set my mind to it, I was going to die before we lost money, or that investor lost money, or the thing didn't work out. But, that first deal, what I traded was, I went from working all this overtime to working for somebody for free. Now I'm down on a property that's cash flowing, but not cash flowing enough to pay me anything. And I'm down there every day. And
So you thought you were going to have it easier, but actually got way more harder.
It did during that first deal. Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, it was, I was down there. I mean, every day I was at the firehouse. I would come into the firehouse in the morning. I'd be there all day. I'd leave at 7:30 in the morning, and I would drive to the property, and I would be down there till 6 o'clock at night.
Picking up trash, listening to tenants complain, walking the hallways.
Yeah. And I made sure they didn't know that I owned it, but what happened, and again,
what did they say? There's a trash guy.
Yeah, right. I mean, I did not want them knowing that I owned it, but what I realized, or what I learned, I didn't know what I didn't know when I bought that, was that when I bought it, I thought, I was given 50 leases, and it was like, hey, here's what the place is making. The very first payout that we got, it was substantially less than what I saw on paper. And what I found out was that the former owner had, a lot of people on subsidies there. And let's say the subsidy was paying 600, but the lease had 700. He was not collecting that additional $100. So immediately we were not upside down, but there was not a lot of cash flow. And then when we implemented a real management plan, I mean, people were leaving left and right. So I went from having a property that was 94% occupied down to like 76 overnight. And I really quickly realized that my original plan of me doing a lot of the renovations myself was not going to work, because I couldn't keep up with the amount of vacancy and turn the unit. So instantly realized that I had to kind of take a step back, and I've got to form a team of contractors that could work on the property and move through the units way faster than I could.
Did you call the investor and say, hey, we're going to need some more money? Or
Yeah, so I talked to him about it, and then we just started leveraging, two things. I called a gentleman that worked for Strongsville Fire before. He kind of mentored me through some phone calls on that first deal. I called him, and I'm like, man, what do I do? And he was like, well, first of all, you're undercapitalized, because he asked me, how much do you got in the bank? And I said, well, you got 50,000 left after closing. And he's like, that's not nearly enough.
Yeah, you need 10,000 a unit at least.
So he was like, you got to go raise some money. So I again, I couldn't be down there working on the units, because now I got to be out trying to, what am I going to do?
Raise money, yeah.
And so that was my first experience doing that.
Did you know how to do it legally, or did you just
No, I went to people that I knew that knew me, that I had a good relationship with.
No, I mean, but you didn't do the 506B? You didn't know none of that yet,
This was post-closing.
Right?
This was all people loaning Seth Teagle the money based on my character, based on my ability to go there and sell them on what we were doing.
Yep.
And I think I raised about $250,000. And then because I was undercapitalized, I didn't do a bridge loan. I didn't even know what a bridge loan was back then. I ended up saying, okay, here's the money I've got. This has got to be successful. So myself and my stepdad ended up doing a lot of the big projects.
Oh, your stepdad moved up too?
Yeah, he would come up from Arkansas. He would fly up from Arkansas and come live with me for a month.
Wow.
And help me do the work.
I'm telling you, man, that's incredible.
It was a lot of scrapping and a lot of, so it sounds cool when you say it, but the amount of work. It sounds
cool, but when that's happening, it's not cool.
No, it was not. It was super scary, but it was either grind it out and figure out a way to.
Wow, he's got to be proud of you guys now.
Or we fail and I go bankrupt, because I've signed on not only the bank debt, but on all these personal loans from other people, family members, friends, father, parents of friends.
Yeah, don't have a plan B.
No.
And tell people that, man. Get rid of your plan B. What do you plan on failing? No, but what if I do? Well, you won't. If you don't, you won't.
Yeah. Yep. 100%. So that was it. And so 14 months later, we refinanced. We pulled out $1 million.
Wow.
And that was $1 million cash. It wasn't like.
So you put out $1 million cash. You paid off all your investors.
Everybody. Yep. Paid off the original investor. I got my original HELOC money back. And then we took the money that we had left over, and we're like, what are we going to do with this? So we went and bought another property. And it was in that second property, it was 38 units, where I realized that if I wanted, now I'm hooked, right? I just realized I made more money in this one deal than I would have made in 10 years of working. Mm-hmm. And I'm like,
and you ain't paying no taxes.
No, exactly.
When you get in now, did you really understand the maker's schedule, the bonus depreciation and everything then?
No.
So you now, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a totally different world for me now, but back then.
So not only did he pull out the $1 million, there's no taxes on that. Then the cash flow he gets, you're deferring all the taxes on that. And guys, this is where the wealth is. If you guys are lost right now, and look, man, you guys need to get into real estate. Do you know 90% of millionaires make their wealth through real estate, either through actually owning the real estate or doing what you did, a HELOC, pulling that out and running their business. It's no better way to create wealth than real estate, in my opinion.
It made me debt free. I mean, immediately we were able to pay off everything that we had other than our house, which again, why pay that off? I have a 3% mortgage on it.
You get it. Some people don't get it. If you're over here listening to Dave Ramsey, man, you're trying to pay your house off. Look, he's going to have you eating ramen noodles. Only steak you're going to get is the little powdered steak you pour on top of that, man. Listen to Seth Teagle and Nate Barger. We're going to show you guys how to lever up your life and get this money.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was it. I mean, I was hooked. And at that point in time, it made sense to me now, at that time, why Jack, who's in Cleveland, why he left the fire service, because he was farther down the road than I was. And he tried to tell me back when I first talked to him, and I didn't understand it. I'm like, well, this is the best job in the world. Why would anybody ever want to leave?
Yeah.
And at that moment, I realized, well, this is why you'd want to leave, because I just made more in this one deal than I made in 10 years of working. And now I got to just go do it again.
Now you know how to go do it again.
Yeah. And so I got into the second deal, and I'm like, this is, I'm working this out. It's great.
And it's even better.
And I'm like, but like, I want to set up all these different buckets. I want to have 5 or 6 properties. I want to do, get bigger. And that's when I started really digging into syndication. That's when I started digging into, how do I do this with other people's money? How can I help other people? That's when I met my partner, Tim. And we realized, again, him and I together was like pouring gasoline on the situation. He had experience. I had experience. He was good at things that I wasn't. And I was good at things that he wasn't. And together we just became a force that, we scaled to, we're 7-figure, or $185 million portfolio right now that we kind of oversee. We've got a management company. It's gone crazy since those original days, but it wasn't that long ago where it happened. Yeah.
And that $185 million is just going to go, you got your stuff all up in Columbus around there, don't you?
Yeah. So we've got our stuff in a lot of sub-markets and tertiary markets, because we said, okay, how do we get into bigger deals? Trying to go into Columbus was for the big players, the out-of-state guys, the overseas money.
If you got $185 million, you're
now
getting to be. Yeah.
But when we started buying, we were looking like, can we go? Where can we get many doors for our money? And so we went into some of these smaller markets where we were finding guys that had owned since the late 80s, early 90s. They were selling,
were super low.
Yeah, they were selling. I mean, the one we bought was, the rents were $200-300 below market, and that guy bought in 1986. He sold it to us well below market, but he did very well on it. We bought it for what it was valued off the financials, and then we're renovating it. We're doing the burst strategy, but we're just doing it with apartments.
Yep.
And when we go to sell that, or we go to refi, we're pulling out millions instead of thousands. And that's the difference, is that I learned was, if we want to make millions or scale by the millions, we have to play with millions. And that was, that initial deal is what led me into all of that.
That's awesome, man. So where are you at now? How many units you guys got now? 185 million. That's a lot of units.
Yeah. So we've got about 650 in Central Ohio, 650 in Central Ohio. And then we've got a third partner that he brings a pretty big portfolio. So between the three of us and our company as a whole, it's around 1,500-1,600 doors.
Wow. That's awesome, brother.
So yeah, we've got some in some other states. We're getting into some other markets, but our management company manages pretty much everything that we have in Central Ohio, which again,
so you're vertically integrated at your guys' management company?
Maybe we did it a little too soon in Central Ohio, but we just continue to have bad experiences with third-party management companies.
No, I don't think you ever did it too soon. You can't. Third-party management companies are, I don't know. I can't say I've ever had one that's like killer. Like, oh, these guys are great, because they don't think like owners.
Right.
And, if you're buying some Class A stuff, maybe, but that's not where the money's at. You buy this Class C stuff or B-, you fix it up. That's where the real money's at.
Yeah, and a lot of them aren't good at doing that. They're great at bringing a stabilized property. Like if you bring them a stabilized property, they can run that.
Yep.
But if you're bringing them one that is unstable,
but there's no money in that,
right?
So and then if you're gonna do it, you might as well just do it yourself, because then you're building the culture and the decisions that are being made.
When we could normalize the expenses, it was a lot more predictable when we're looking at deals. We know what our costs are, our construction costs.
Yeah.
All of those things are material. We buy flooring by like the container load versus just going and buying it at the store.
I had one of my hotels, and they said all the lines need snaked out, and then so they got a quote for $40,000. I sent 2 of my guys up there, and they got them all snaked out in 2 days.
Well, and that's just it, right?
2 days.
You get a quote
like
that, you can hire somebody
Yeah.
W-2 or 1099 even for just that one project.
Yep.
And you just set them loose and say, snake all these drains out. And you
Snake all these drains out.
It
Took them. They got through 2 floors in 2 days. So it take them another day to go back.
Yep.
2 days, 3 days max. You know what? $500 a day each. I mean, for both of them.
Yeah.
It's $1,000 for $40,000.
Yep.
I mean, and
if you didn't
multiplied those decisions over
100%.
and over and over again. So
Yeah.
I don't think you ever did it too soon. It's just that maybe it was a little bit more stress on you because you.
Well, and that's just it. I mean, like I said, things look well polished now, and I come and I say, oh, we got 185 million worth of assets. Like it sounds great, but the amount of hours and time has gone into that from Tim and I, even now, is in trying to build the team and get the right people in places, and that has been tremendous. The book Who Not How by Dan Sullivan really changed my mindset in my life because, again, I was raised blue collar, firefighter, in the trades, blue collar mindset. I had to do the work. And I read that book and it helped me realize early in that first deal that I had to kind of like let go of a lot of things and find somebody doing it 80% as good as I would do it, but they were still moving the needle for me.
Yeah.
And I need to spend my time doing, talking to investors or looking for another deal or looking at the global picture of that deal and saying, okay, how do I minimize the expenses? How can we buy more efficiently? How can we, going to Lowe's or wherever and negotiating pricing? And that's where my time is better spent.
Yeah. You're building out systems.
Yep.
And solving problems. And, my partner, Matt, not him, another Matt, came to me one time and he said, Nate, all we really do is get paid to solve problems. He said, the bigger the problems are, the more money we're going to make. So let's go find some problems.
Let's go find the big.
Let's go find some problems.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. So what's next, man? Where you guys want to go now? I know you just hired you guys an asset manager.
Yeah. So that's
amazing, man.
Yeah. So we've scaled. We've got about 23 employees now, and then we just did our first executive hire where we were like, we need to bring on somebody that knows more than we do on how to make these things more efficient. Who's got the gentleman that we're hiring. He's scaled and exited 2 property management companies. He knows exactly what to do and how to do it. We're looking to get into third-party management. We're looking to expand into other markets. And with that, rather than to give it to a third-party management company, hiring local people in the market there and then just having them come in and be part of our team. So I think that's something that I've learned is leveraging other people's time, their knowledge, and their resources versus me having to always be the one to figure it out. Or, that's, there's a dollar metric that can be assigned to that where like for instance, this gentleman, for every $1 that I pay him, he makes me $12.
Wow.
I think we were looking at that metric today, actually on the ride over here was how do we put a number to the value of this gentleman? And that's what if he went through and did everything that we've talked about, for every $1 I pay him, he's going to make me 12.
Wow.
So that's a huge multiplier. And that's how you start generating wealth as well.
That's it. And that's called human capital. And you guys don't, listen, you're either hiring human capital or you are human capital, right? And so I'm not trying to say that in a negative connotation, negative way, but realize where you're at in your life and what role you're playing in your life. And some people, you may be totally happy with your job, but if you're ready to kill your W-2, you make sure you check out Seth at the Firehouse Brothers. He's got an educational platform over there for you guys. And follow him on social media. How do they follow you, brother?
Oh, we're on Facebook. We're on LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram. Thefirehousebros.com is our educational platform. And really that's what we're trying to do. Like you with the burst strategy. I mean, it's like, how do we know where we were at and we know where we're at now. How many people can we bring along with us? And
that's it, man. It's changed lives, man.
Oh,
and 100%. I can't tell you how many people in my academy whose lives have just been changed forever.
And it's not just that person. It's a legacy change.
It's a legacy. And so I told this lady, I'm writing a book right now. It's called My Parents Bankrupt Me. It's the old way of thinking. Well, you should go to college. Why? And then it was, I said, I want to create 10 million millionaires. And they were like, do you know how many millionaires there are? I said, yes, 22 million in the United States right now. It's 54 million in the world. I know. And they were like, well, don't you think that's a high number? Do you want to change it? I said, no. Let's make it 12 million. Yeah, you want to change it? It's because you realize that as you change these people, their mindset, they're changing people's mindset around them, and it just goes on and on. It's not me directly, right? It's indirectly, but it's going out here, and that's what I was telling Matt yesterday, what the mission and the goal is for us, what I want to do. want to create a nonprofit, and I'm going to have all these people all over the country. We already got a ton of people in every city across the country. You want to go back and you want to get back. That's just natural what happens. Now, if you're in survival mode, that's hard to comprehend, right? And so that's our passion, man. We want to go back into the inner city. That's where I came from, growing up selling drugs. And I want to reach those people before they get out there.
Yeah.
And I want to help them change their life because, man, you breaking through and understanding this and understanding finances, there's so much wealth out here, right?
Absolutely.
And so it's like you say you got $185 million worth of real estate, but then you're looking at yourself, and I got about $250 million, but I'm like, man, I'm not that big. I'm kind of small, you know?
Yeah.
But people think you're big. Like you said, you got 1,000 people behind you. But if you compare yourself to them, you'll never grow. You got to compare yourself to the people that are, you know, getting
I mean,
bigger.
and I think for me, what I always try to tell people is you got to get in the right rooms. You know, even like me today coming down, you know, to get in the room with you, for us to talk, for us to meet. I mean, it's a big deal for us. And because you're doing more than we are, you're farther down the road than us. You know, it's not that's the thing I think that I love about real estate too, is there's a lot of people that don't compare themselves. Right. But what I can learn from you and glean from you, I can in turn give that to other
we're going to
people.
do deals together. You guys are in Columbus.
100%.
Man, I get deals
ready
off
for that.
market, and I'm
Absolutely.
like, what do you guys want to do, man?
Yeah.
Sky's the limit. What do you guys want to do?
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I got an acre up there right now that we can get, and I'll tell you about that. I was in Columbus. When were we up there? Did you went? No, Colby went. I was up there Friday. And we got a building on Long Street that we're buying, but we got it into somebody up there who has a lot of property who's selling it. They're in their 80s. So we can get a lot of property up there. You guys ready to roll?
Let's go.
So you want to build?
Yep.
You want to renovate?
Yep.
You're going to do it all.
Yeah.
And the reason why I am not afraid to build in Columbus, Ohio is because there is so much more demand that's needed. The property prices are just going to continue to go up in value until they hit equilibrium.
Yeah.
By the time they hit equilibrium, that's a moving target. I mean, it's going to be crazy to see what happens in that market, man. That could end up being, you know, one of the – they're saying – I don't even know, Seth. You maybe know better than me. Do you know how many people you guys are projected to go to by 2050?
No, there's another plant that Intel's doing that they started like 20 years ago, and I believe it's New Mexico where it's at. But if you look at the map of that city from where it started till where it is today, the amount of growth, it is like 10x what anybody would have imagined. And this is going to be, you know, it's like 5 times bigger than that one. And so I always tell people in my local area, because I live, you know, less than 15 minutes from the site, and there's a lot of people that don't want to be developed, or they're negative about losing the rural area. And I hate that for them, but it's going to be, you know, like you take your worst nightmare for people that live near me and you got to 10x it. I mean, the amount of not only jobs and things it's going to create for the people that are going to work at Intel, but the amount of, you know, subsidiary businesses that are going to get drawn in. Bear Paint is moving from California already. There's
Really?
all kinds of different people that are coming.
Wait, Bear Paint?
Yeah, their main manufacturing facility in California is moving to Heath, Ohio, right over by Boeing.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And I mean,
Do you know why they're moving from there? Just taxes?
taxes,
wages?
and then all that. I mean, like I said, there's
Let's go, Ohio.
Oh yeah, I mean it's going to be crazy, and that's the thing.
You got a $4 billion hospital they're finishing up.
Mm-hmm.
You also have an electric automobile maker that's coming in over there.
Yep.
I mean, how many billions is that?
I don't know off
It's
the top
insane.
of my head, but it's crazy.
Guys, it is insane, man. It's insane, and I look forward to going up there with you guys and invest and do some deals together, man.
Absolutely.
So we can go watch some OH.
That's an IO.
There you go. That's what I'm talking about.
We get box seats at the Buckeyes game. That'll be
Yeah,
a good
there you
time.
go. That'd be. I don't know if you can even get them out. Don't matter
You
how
might
much.
not.
It don't matter how much money you
Yeah,
got.
right.
I
They've
ain't
been
selling
reserved
no,
for
I ain't
forever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that's it. So we're developing right now. We got a big development we're doing.
So tell us about that. Your development you're doing.
So we were doing the burst strategy basically in these apartment complexes, and then through broker relationships, a broker that lives out in Licking County called us last fall before the Intel announcement, said, "Hey, look, I got 150 acres. It's in the city of Heath. It's great opportunity. You guys interested?" And we looked it over and got it in contract. And then like right after we got in contract, I think Intel announced that they were going to be building.
Whoa.
And so like right now it's going to be, I think when it's all said and done, it's going to be about 750 doors.
Wow.
Between apartments, condos and houses. And it's the first large development that we've done, but not the first large development that one of our partners has done.
So you getting subsidies for that?
So we've got, right now we've got a pretty big tax abatement, a TIF for 15 years, I think, with the city on that.
Wow, that's
I mean,
awesome.
but they want to be developed. And that's the thing for us is like when we're getting into those things, like we always go and sit down with the decision makers.
Yep.
A lot of people will do drop-in swaps, or they'll kind of hide the sale. And sometimes that makes sense. Sometimes it doesn't. In this particular situation, it makes sense for us to say, okay, what way are you swimming as a municipality? We want to swim that way. And we want to kind of get on board with you and make it work and make it happen, because then they're willing to work with us if we're willing to work with them and make it even a more successful deal. And with what's
they want
coming,
growth. They understand. They want them
Yeah.
jobs so they can get the taxes, so they can get better schools and cyclical. And like you said, some people don't understand that. They're just set in their ways. But that way of thinking, those are probably older people, and they're gonna pass on before long, and that stuff will get developed.
Yep.
It's just standing in the
And
way
I
of
hate
progress.
you hate to see it, but hey, if it's not gonna be me, it's gonna be somebody else.
Yeah,
Right,
no,
and so-
it's just capitalism, brother.
Yep.
Like, this is the way this country runs, and that's why we can take care of people, take care of things, take care of the world, is because we don't have limiting beliefs on the people that we allow to go out and do. Now, we work with ethics, right, and morals, but we go out here and we make stuff happen.
Yes.
You're going to do 700 units, right?
Yeah.
And you're going to create massive amount of jobs, massive amount of velocity of money in that area.
Absolutely.
Which is going to create more jobs and good sustainable housing, because you're going to do a good job of bringing the price in low so that you can, pass that on to the consumer.
Yeah. And too, just the infrastructure that's going to bring to the municipality. The water system is going to be upgraded. The sewer system is going to be upgraded. All of those different benefits. It's not going to just benefit us. The average person that lives there may not understand what's happening, but it's going to cause the city to upgrade a lot of their services.
And they're going to get federal grants for that, though,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
So it's more money. There you go. Man, well, Seth, that is awesome, brother. 150 acres. So what's next? What's the goal? Why are you doing all this? Where do you stop? Where do you want to get to?
I mean, I don't think we have a cap on the investment side of things. We give a lot of regular people an opportunity to invest in deals that they wouldn't otherwise be a part of, because that's how you create wealth. So we don't really have a cap on that. And then as far as like our education stuff goes, we are very passionate. I was passionate when I was in the fire service of teaching firefighters, new guys coming in, and medic school, teaching new medics, how do we do it? And Tim and I are both very passionate and excited about being able to help others go from where I was at, being tired, wore out, stress at home, to getting to that next level and getting out, whatever that may look like. I mean, it might just be helping somebody get into a house hacking situation or
Yep.
a 4 unit, or not everybody's going to jump into a 50 unit, but if I would have started my 20s by buying a duplex and having that tenant, that other person pay my mortgage, how far would I be? And helping anybody kind of move through those times, because you can get into, like, if you go out and do your first flip and you're like, I'm gonna go it alone, you can get upside down real fast.
You can, and I want to share one thing with the viewers. I tell a lot of people, I got a system that'll help you become a millionaire in 5 years. What he did, I don't recommend a lot of people do that, but the one thing I can tell you that I would recommend he did that, he was willing to give up a year of his life with no money. So he was totally dedicated, where a lot of you guys still have to see and taste the carrot a little bit first, But man, by all means, if you got the experience and you are that dedicated to making it happen, there is nothing that can stop you except yourself. So Seth, I want to say thank you for coming on the show, brother. Man, that's awesome, brother. I can't wait to be on yours tomorrow.
That's right.
And I can't wait to do a deal with you guys, man.
Yeah,
you guys are
We're
crushing
here,
it,
ready to
man.
go. Yeah, it's exciting. So
Yeah, because I told Mike, he's actually down there hiring an asset manager down in, we're looking to start our own hospitality management company.
okay.
And we actually have, you know what? I'll tell you guys what. I got a deal in Columbus. I got 2 deals up there I'll talk to you guys about off camera, but one deal there and one is in, I'll tell you, man, it's an amazing deal.
Yeah. Well,
So-
and that's the thing that we try to tell people, like, if you guys want to come to Columbus, I mean, we're already set up. We got the systems, we're ready to go. And that's also helped us grow, is because we've strategically partnered with other people. And that's, I don't want people don't be afraid of partnering with the right person.
The right people that you see are out here grinding, working hard, and then know what your overlap is, know what your strengths and weaknesses are.
Absolutely.
So, well, Seth, thank you so much for coming on the show, brother.
Absolutely. I appreciate you having me.
Yep. All right. Thank you, man. Oh, one more thing. And so where can they reach you at again? Where can they find you at?
You can, on all social media handles. You can just look up Seth Teagle or the firehousebros.com or the streamgroups.com.